First, a tiny bit of information about me. My name is Sven and I'm a graduate of Gymnasium Schillerstraße, Feldkirch, a high school in Western Austria. Now let's go back to my thesis. Oh, sorry, wrong button. I have chosen this topic because I have actually been always fascinated by computer games in general, and I have always had a deep wish to develop an app or game on my own one day. So I thought, hey, want to combine my hobby with work that is due anyway and write a high school thesis about it. Then I came up with the question whether it is possible to create a simple 2D game cost-effectively and cross-platform using the professional game engine Unity. The answer to this question, however, will be given later as I need to clarify some fundamentals before. The term Unity is one of those fundamentals. As the majority of you already might know, Unity is a game engine. But in fact, it isn't just a simple game engine. No. Actually, it's the most popular game engine on the market. And a few reasons for this popularity are probably the availability of a free version, as well as the possibility to create your games on a cross-platform basis. Next, I would like to talk a little bit more in detail about the game I've developed. But first, let me show you what it looks like. So, right here you can see a screenshot of the Mac version of my game. You can see a player that needs to pass some obstacles. And yeah, it's called Fancy Jumper. I think the name is pretty clear why I chose this name. It can be identified as a 2D jump and run game, which can be executed on various platforms, as I used Unity to develop this game. And another feature of Fancy Jumper is the use of procedural level generation. Now, I think this is quite a good keyword to dive a little bit deeper into the matter of coding. Right here on the wall you can see the main code blocks that are responsible for the procedural generation of the level. To keep my example short and simple though, I will only focus on the procedural generation of the ground component. So let's get started. First thing to do is to determine the initial position of the initial ground element, which happens in the upper section right here. Next point that has to be done is to move this point that is saved as a point in a vector format. So the coordinates of the initial ground element are saved as a point. Then this point is moved to the right, so towards positive x coordinates, and then a new ground element is spawned considering that the old but still existing ground element connects to the new one without leaving any gaps. Now naturally, that the player never runs out of the planned game area, this process needs to be repeated, which happens in the lower section right here. So basically what is done is that the method spawn ground, who does all the moving and spawning stuff I've just explained, is called. The 0 next to it tells the compiler to start instantly repeating spawn ground. And ground spawn timer is just a variable that determines the time intervals in which this process is repeated. I think that was enough in theory. Now I have brought a screenshot of the developer's view of Unity, at least from a part of it, and I just want to explain it again with graphical support. So first of all, a point is determined, then this point is moved to the right. At the new point, the new element is spawned, considering again that there are no gaps left between the new and old element. So after one iteration, the result looks like this. Yeah, and I think I have to add that all the components were reproduced simultaneously. Concluding now, I can say yes. It is possible to create a simple 2D game cost-effectively and cross-platform using the professional game engine Unity. To support my claim, I can provide a functioning app that can be executed on various platforms. Furthermore, I had, or actually there were no need to invest in any form in my project, as all resources that were required were either available online for free or could be borrowed. Now when it comes down to my own perks, I can say that this project really helped me to enhance my personal programming skills, as I didn't know much about Unity or C# before this project. And if I'm looking to the future of my game, I might go on with further developments and eventually publish it on certain app stores such as Google's Play Store and maybe also Apple's App Store. Yeah, now let's come to some additional pieces of information I would really like to share with you. Now, at some parts you basically hear my former supervisor talking because I had a short conversation with him before coming here. And in this conversation he told me that my thesis is special in a certain respect because it represents a third possible way to write a high school thesis here in Austria, as up to now the vast majority of students did some kind of literature research or an empirical study on a certain subject. But only very few, like Jacob and me, have chosen to do some practical stuff, so where we have a product at the end. So in my case, a functioning app. And this is really something that makes me proud, because I have set another example for future students that have to write a high school thesis. Next to that, my work is some kind of example for game-based learning, because the acquisition of the knowledge regarding Unity and C# happened in a quite playful way. Another thing that really makes me proud, because it shows another proof of the success of this form of learning. And who knows, maybe game-based learning is just the right way to encourage people learning generally complicated things such as coding. Now, before beginning with the Q&A session, I would really like to demonstrate my game. Back in high school, I asked a member of the audience to come and join me and play for a moment. And I actually really would like to do this here again. So are there any volunteers that would like to come and join me and play for a moment? Yes, please come to me. So. You just have to hit the spacebar in order to make the player jump. So, as already mentioned, it's a very simple 2D game, and as you can maybe see, the distance between the obstacles is varying because there I used some kind of random algorithm. Yeah. Just play as long as you want. Yeah, and there's also some background music. Yeah. For maybe some words to the possible future, I have planned to implement different levels of difficulty, so in order to keep the game a little bit more challenging as it is in the current version. So I would need my slides back. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me now or just write me an email after the conference. Thank you again.